Tombstone, the saloon scene. In the scene in question, Wyatt Earp confronts a theoretically random poker player about sitting in his seat. The poker player then proceeds to try to domineer over Wyatt Earp, but realized very quickly that the senior cowboy was not at all threatened. After a little bit of confrontation, Wyatt Earp proved that the young man was just a bag of hot air and took his gun and tossed it to the bartender across the room. The danger. Wyatt Earp never checked to figure out how many bullets the man had loaded in his revolver, as well as the fact that he never looked when he tossed the gun. He had no guarantee that the bartender was still in the location he thought he was in, so he should have looked to make sure where he was. And tossing a single-action army revolver is a bad idea because they're notoriously easy to have a misfire in. Young guns. In the scene, an older cowboy passes his gun to Billy the Kid, who ostensibly thinks the gun is cool and wants to see it. The danger. The man hands a loaded gun to someone he can't assess the skill level of, and then turns away, therefore taking his eyes off the individual. Billy the Kid then proceeds to inconspicuously remove bullets from the gun, making it useless, before handing it back to the senior cowboy so that he can then shoot him in a few moments. Never hand a loaded firearm to someone that you can't guarantee knows how to work it. And if you do, don't turn away from said individual. Tombstone, Doc Holliday versus Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo intends to meet an individual for a fight to the death and is surprised by Doc Holliday appearing. The two complete a previous challenge from when Ringo was drunk, resulting in Ringo being shot. The danger. In the shootout in question, Doc Holliday continues to smoke the entire time, which is a bad idea in the first place if you're working with guns, leaving his left hand up in front of his body. In order to shoot, he draws a cross-draw holstered weapon near his left side with his right hand, points it up from underneath his left elbow and fires, then replaces the gun. Revolvers give off a very dangerous spurt of energy around the front of the cylinder, which happens to be just about the spot where his elbow happened to be positioned. If he was unlucky, he would have blown a good deal of skin off his arm, or potentially just blown a hole through his arm. McClintock, John Wayne. In the scene in question, an unnamed aggressor is upset about his daughter being missing and blames it on an Indian, apparently a friend of John Wayne's. He continues to jab a loaded shotgun into John Wayne's midsection. Eventually, the aforementioned daughter reappears, prompting the father to spin around to acknowledge her, eventually trying to go after the Indian again for no apparent reason. John Wayne then takes possession of the shotgun, gives him a taste of his own medicine by jabbing the barrel into his midsection, throws it back to him, and then punches him, causing him to fall down a ravine into a pond. The danger. Aside from the fact that he jabbed a loaded shotgun into someone's middle, he also didn't think the situation through enough to decide, where is this shotgun pointed once I punch this man? And if I punch him, is he going to randomly squeeze the trigger? As well as the fact that the man, on top of jabbing a shotgun into someone's middle, also continued to flag multiple innocent bystanders whenever he got distracted. Fistful of Dollars. Clint Eastwood mule encounter. Clint Eastwood's character, who I refer to as the Stranger, went to confront 4 men who had fired shots at his mule's feet. The 4 men were presented with an opportunity at that moment to simply say goodbye and potentially to apologize for their conduct. Instead, they instigate a confrontation, insult him and his mule, and eventually result in them being shot for trying to draw on Clint Eastwood's character. The danger. Clint Eastwood only alluded to their previous conduct, but it is a bad idea in gravel roads or any hard rocky area to fire at the ground, because it can very easily ricochet. In the encounter, when they began insulting the mule, Clint Eastwood made a very obvious move of tossing his poncho up over his shoulder, exposing his right arm and gun. This was a very obvious indication as to what he was planning to do. So common sense should dictate that at that moment the men should have withdrawn or followed his instructions if they were wanting to avoid him using the weapon he clearly intended to use.